Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
This is Ron.
And Janice.
Par for the course. We have a little different video for you today. We're going to go through the aeronautical decision making process utilizing the acronyms IMSAFE and PAVE. We'll have a little short video, probably not like what you'd normally see from us, but this is going to be a video a little bit more on a personal note. I hope you enjoy it. So within the aeronautical decision making tool, we have two acronyms. One is IMSAFE and the second one is PAVE. And let's just go over those real quick. IMSAFE. I is for illness. M is for medication. S is for stress. A for alcohol. F, fatigue. E, emotion. And then with the PAVE acronym, P is for pilot. A is for aircraft. V is for environmental. And E is for external or external pressures.
This year, on November 28th, my parents celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary, which was such a wonderful thing, just a wonderful
Milestone.
milestone. Yeah, there we go. Couldn't go with the word. So that was on a Wednesday, and later that day, my dad called to say my mom had fallen. She'd broken her hip. So she had surgery, and on Thursday I talked to her twice. She was doing great. And then on Friday, November the 30th, about middle of the morning, my brother called. He had made it to their town and had gone by to see her, and he said, "You need to come." Well, if we fly to Louisiana, it's 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours, something like that. If we drive, it takes us 10 hours. It's a long drive, and just not a great way to get there. So there had to be a decision made. You know, are we going to fly? Are we going to drive? Our daughter was going to go with us. She lives in the same town in Wichita where we do. And so there were quite a few moving parts in this. We were trying to get there as quickly as we could. And so there were decisions for Ron especially to make as pilot in command.
Yeah, and this was the one time I literally told my wife I need to go through PAVE. And you know, there was some weather. It wasn't anything unsurmountable. There was some patching, icing kind of en route, but they were small and we could divert around those. So that wasn't going to be a huge issue for a no-go or a go decision. But the other part was the emotion. You get a call that says you need to be there. And, you know, I know a lot of husbands can relate to this. The one thing I didn't want to do was disappoint my wife. I wanted to get her home. So, you know, as pilots, we know the term get there itis. And this was an extreme case of get there itis. It wasn't like getting home for a birthday party or your daughter's, you know, dance recital. You may be late, but you're still there. This was, you know, her mother was on life support and essentially had hours to live. And as Janice pointed out, we're looking at 3.5 hour flight or about a 10-hour drive. And I looked at her and I just said, you know, I'm looking through PAVE and I'm safe and I just can't fly. And so we made the decision to load up the car and go. And that's how we got to that kind of a go, no-go decision. And as tough as it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make. And we'll kind of play this out and see how it goes through.
So we made the trip to Louisiana, and as we're traveling down, we are getting updates. She is not doing well at all, and pretty much they're trying to keep her alive until we can get there. One brother was there, another brother got there late in the afternoon, and they really were trying to keep her alive until we got there. But sadly, she passed away, and we didn't quite make it. And Ron kind of beat himself up over that, but you know, it was fine. You know, the mom that I knew and loved was not the one that was laying there in that bed. So.
And when she got that call, the first words out of my mouth was, "I'm sorry," because I was just trying so hard to get there so she could say goodbye to her mom. And then I thought, well, maybe I should have flown. And then you start doubting your go and no-go decisions. And it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and then as the rest of the weekend and the next week unfolded, there was a lot of stuff to get ready for Mama's funeral. And we had to help Daddy do all the funeral planning and that sort of thing. And just, anyone that's ever been involved in a funeral, there's just a lot to do and so much emotion. We were not getting to bed at any kind of reasonable time at night.
Mostly after midnight.
It was midnight or after. And then my daddy gets up at
4:30.
4:30. And so, we didn't want him to be alone. So we were always trying to get up when he did to drink coffee and kind of be there with him. So anyway, needless to say, we were running on fumes by the time we got ready to go. We had also done a little bit of cooking and house cleaning before we left, just trying to make sure things were ready for him. So anyway, it came time to go home, and we had slept well the night before, and we felt like we were rested as we could be, and the trip back was not going to be rushed. We didn't have to get back for anything. We were both off work for the next couple of days, and so that was not an issue. But we started on the drive home, and Ron was really tired, and we had made several stops. And at one point, we're driving down the road, and he gets the ice out of his cup, and he's kind of rubbing it on his face, and I'm thinking, yeah, you're just really tired. And the thing is, Ron is kind of like the pilot in command of the car, too. He likes to be the one driving, likes to be the one in control. So anyway, all of a sudden, we are outside of Oklahoma City, and he just pulls over to the side of the road and says, "I can't drive anymore. You have got to drive." So I got in the driver's seat and drove for several hours then, until we got just outside of Wichita, and we had stopped one last time, and he took over at that point. So
and that's kind of the reaffirmation or reconfirmation that we made the correct decision not to fly. I think we could have gotten down there okay, but as everything unfolded, even though we'd had a good night's sleep the night before, roughly about 4 hours into the drive on our return trip, that would have been toward the tail end of flying, and as you know, that's when you got to land. And I was shot. I had been running on adrenaline for several days, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I just flat couldn't drive a car. And just imagine if I had been pilot in command on an airplane, we would be looking at a story through NTSB about someone with There Itis, but it was kind of a There Itis scenario in reverse. We, as Janice said, we had no schedule we had to get back on. But we could have landed if I'd gotten fatigued. But as you well know, the closer you get, you kind of think, well, it's just another 30 minutes, I can make it. And this really helped me realize that, guys, the IMSAFE acronym and the PAVE acronym and the Aeronautical Decision matrix of going through and making sure you're safe and the risk analysis that you take, you know what? They come in handy sometimes. You know, I know when you get off work and you want to go take a flight and you're in a good mood, you don't really think about the personal part of PAVE, you know, the emotion or the stress, because let's face it, it's not even a forethought. You're going to get in the plane. So the rest of it is, you know, you're doing your pre-flight on your plane, you're making sure the plane is safe, and you might just for a split second think, well, am I okay to fly? But every once in a while we have to stop and take a back seat and really go through the steps. And this is one of those times we went through the steps. And I believe it was Martin Polly on one of his videos said an acronym or just kind of a saying I've never heard before. And he said it only takes a pilot a year to learn to fly, but it can take 10 years for him to learn when not to fly. And so
Then on a kind of a personal note, you know, we were so glad that several months ago we were able to get Mom and Daddy up in the airplane and take a short flight and let them experience some of what we had. My daddy has always loved airplanes, always loved flying. He worked, I never realized this, but when he was just out of high school, he had worked at the airport, kind of just doing whatever needed to be done around, pulling planes around, I think checking oil and that kind of stuff in the planes. And I'd never even realized he did that. I just knew he always loved airplanes. Yeah. But several months ago, we flew down just for a fun trip, and we were able to get Mom and Daddy up in the plane, and we went to the Reston Airport, and I know the guys there inside were just probably rolling watching us. Here comes my mama out pushing her walker.
And she does not like to be filmed or taking photos with her walker.
No. So anyway, we get her to the plane, you know, 182, and so then Ron and I kind of talked about how we were going to get her in this thing. So anyway, there's the step. Well, she doesn't have a whole lot of strength in one side of her arm, and then there's one leg that's not real strong.
And they're not on the same side.
And so I was inside the plane, Ron was outside. He was just, Elaine, just let me lift you up, you know. And so anyway, we kind of get her halfway there 2 or 3 times, and it's just not working. And she says, let me just sit down. So she sits down on the edge of the plane, and we kind of look and we go, hey, why don't you just push yourself up and then up onto the seat? So that's what she did. We got her in the plane, and we kind of reversed the process at the end. But it was, you know, even that was a funny memory of the whole experience.
Well, and because of that, this took about 30 minutes. So needless to say, Janice normally has her pre-flight duties of getting the GoPro together and getting everything together. Well, we had expended so much time trying to get her mom into the plane that we didn't record that flight. But fortunately, we got to looking, and Janice had a couple of little clips on a video with her iPhone, and we found those. And so the rest of this video is a few still pictures and a few videos of taking her mother and her father up for her father, her first flight, and then for her mother, her first and her last flight. I hope you enjoy. it's a short clip, and I hope you enjoyed it. But in closing, what we ask is, we have a present under the tree for her mother we'd already bought. It will go unopened. And our hope and desire for everyone, not just pilots, but people who are driving too, that you make sure you're safe. And what we don't want from anybody is to have a Christmas present under the tree that remains unopened by the recipient on the label or the tag of the present. And so, kind of a somber ending, but I hope somebody gains maybe a little insight out of this to maybe go, you know what, There Itis is a real thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, Merry Christmas. Hug and love the ones that you love and enjoy their presence in your life. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.